Board of County Commissioners now reconvene our meeting from earlier this morning. I think we have Commissioner Jackal here. Commissioner Jackal, I'm sorry, our supervisor of elections, Ms. Jackal.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. It's still an honor to be called that. Thank you for reconvening the meeting this afternoon for us. We appreciate it, and I know your time is important, and I know y'all are busy, so I'll get right to it. We have a cash flow situation that I believe has been brought to your attention in my office, and I became aware of it today and wanted to bring y'all into the loop as soon as I could today, and it worked out very well that y'all were in session today. The situation essentially is this. We just conducted the biggest election that's been conducted in Franklin County. We had the biggest turnout that's ever been recorded in Franklin County for a general election, and it was an expensive election to conduct. And as a result of the election, and a couple of things. One, I was not successful in my election bid, and two, Paul Markson has visited with our bookkeeping in our office and asked that we report to them for audit purposes a year-end closeout. So he came to our office, I believe it was the 28th, and met with Bonnie Myrick, our bookkeeper. And so in her efforts to close everything out by year-end, including all of the payables from the election, it's kind of put us in a cash flow bind. And so, and as well, she was mistaken in thinking that we would be getting a draw today after your meeting instead of in January, the first meeting. And she paid the bills in anticipation of that draw, when in actuality the draw was in the first week of January. It is a clerical error. I take responsibility for that. And so, that being said, what would have normally transpired if I was going to remain in office, we would not have paid these payables until the January draw, in which we received January, February, and March. But in an effort to sort of swab the decks, for lack of a better explanation, we wanted to have everything buttoned up, tidied up for the accountants and for the incoming supervisor on January 3rd. So that is why I'm here today, and I welcome your questions, your concerns. Again, I apologize for having to come before you today. We did make a mistake, and Bonnie is at the office pulling some reports, a general ledger for y'all to see what we've actually paid. One of the reasons that we had a more expensive election also than normally is that, number one, we extended our early vote hours. We were unable to only have 2 employees available at both early voting locations because of the turnout. And so we had a good bit of overtime, and so we had a fairly costly election. But in terms of going forward for the rest of the budget year, there should be no problems with cash flow or operating, because there are no further elections to conduct in this budget cycle. All of that's conducted, and all of this budget expense was fairly budgeted into the budget as well, and so there should not be a budget overrun. We still should be able to operate within budget. Basically, you know, it's a cash flow issue at this point. Here she is.
This particular handout, Ms. Jackal, this is for the quarterly allocation that you've already received. This is how it was expended.
Yes, sir.
If you give us just a minute, I think.
Sure.
Commissioners, we're looking over.
And as you look through this, you can see the overtime allotment there, and you can also see the general election obligation on page 2.
This overtime is strictly related to the election,
Yes, sir.
pretty much.
Yes, sir. And that would include early vote. So in addition to item number 9 on page 2, where you see the general election obligation, the temporary employees amount that's on page 1 should be added to that, because that's where we slot that in terms of the budget, the way the budget's allocated to our office. But the reason for that temporary expense is for early vote.
That's 13 on temporaries?
Yes, sir. Mhm. That really can be added to the general election obligation. That's just the way it's set up in our budget, the way y'all allocate the budget to our office. So that makes the election run around $28,000, which if you break down the quarterly payment we received, that's equal to 1/3 of the quarterly payment that we received on our budget.
I think my primary concern, and probably the concern of the other board members, is the shortfall that you were referring to that we shouldn't have, because you've already paid a lot of this stuff up that the incoming supervisor would have to be obligated to take care of because of bookkeeping, and wanting to close that out as a new supervisor election comes in. That's understandable.
Well, I should have probably left them open, some of it open. We had one expense that was $9,800, and I should have probably left it open, payable to next year. If I had done that, I wouldn't be here today. So.
Right. And I think, us having you down here this evening to explain some of this to us as we, we just allocated money, then we got to explain that to our taxpayers.
Absolutely.
As you know, y'all need, most everybody, every constitutional that I've had shortfalls always, and they come to the board and justify and explain to us what's going on, so we can then take that back to the taxpayers, explain this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. So I think that was a genuine concern of the board, and rightfully so.
And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to be before you today, so I thank you for that, because I agree. We want the taxpayers to know the reasons that we do things, that, we're operating above board, and we're a business like a lot of businesses, but we ran into a very expensive election.
So what we have to do to correct this?
I was going to ask for any other comments from commissioners.
I just want to ask, because I probably just don't know, this is going through December 6th. Is this amount going to cover to the end of December, or is there going to be other things involved that need to be added to this amount?
Only thing that will go into the rest of December is payroll.
Okay.
So what we obtain, and then in January, the first week of January, when y'all meet, what will come before your bills to be paid approval process will be the other 2 months of that quarter. And when that all comes in, there'll be money left over at the end of the year, but when the office then receives the other 2 months that will be due and payable at that time, then everything will be very good.
As I'm understanding now, I'm kind of confused because of the number that was brought to us, and I understood you just say that the only thing you like in this particular month is the payroll for December and the
That's-
payroll for the first of
The first week of January.
June. Is that
Yeah,
the
that's correct.
total of the request that you were making here
The
today?
payroll and the withholding, you know.
Okay,
that
yeah,
has to-
that's all you're requesting.
Yeah, their everything that comes with payroll, which is their withholding and retirement.
So we're not got any more bills to pay, we just gotta make payroll for the 15th and then the first of the month.
Well, we actually pay weekly in our office.
Oh, you pay weekly?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, anyways, you know,
Yes, sir.
Break
It's
it down.
same money.
and what
No-
is the total cost that we're asking for today?
We were asking for 1/3 of the quarterly allotment.
Which would be 1 month, and Aaron said it's $27,431.17.
That's for the month of December.
Yeah, that's 1 month's allotment.
Okay, will we have to pay that same amount in January?
Well,
January it'd be this times 2. correct?
times 2, which is the regular, gets us
So it's
back,
54,000?
that'll be left in, well, see, we're funded
That's confusing.
quarterly. And so this would be 1/3 of the quarterly, and then in January, they would receive the rest of the quarter, which would pay through March.
The other 2/3, yes, ma'am.
Right.
The total amount?
The total amount today, what you'll be approving is $27,431.17, which is 1 month's allotment.
Okay.
So, in January, you'll see on the bill list, this 27 times 2, whatever that amount is for.
For December
Which will be
and
for
January.
February and March,
Oh, okay.
okay? So
Okay,
basically, it's an advance on January, and when January comes, you'll be paying, February and March. See?
54,000,
Roughly, yes,
around 54,000.
yes, ma'am.
What about the rent and all paid?
Sir,
The rent and all paid?
everything is paid. That's all there is to go is payroll.
Okay.
And we paid some things forward in anticipation of me leaving office and anticipation of the audit, the year-end closeout of the audit.
Let me ask you something, Supervisor Jackal. Don't we have elections next year, or 2017 for the city of Apalachicola and the city of Carabel?
We do, but those
They
are,
pay for themselves.
they pay for their own elections. So there's all the expenses of city elections are reimbursed to the
That's what I
office.
thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, so basically you're on straight payroll for the rest of the year next year.
So basically, just to put this in layman's terms, a lot of the stuff you paid forward, as you said, you probably shouldn't have in hindsight, but you did. So those obligations won't reoccur in the elections office until the next fiscal year. So,
That's correct.
I make a motion, we pay.
we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Massey. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Thank you for coming down and explaining this to us.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate it.
Call Aaron right now.
Okay, further Commissioner comments. I have a couple comments that I didn't get to earlier today, not for you, but just in general. Number one, I'd like to thank Commissioner Massey for working diligently and getting these barges built for the check station. I think that's very important to help to restore and help our bay to get back to what we always hoped it would do and restore the bay and get it to where these people that work on the bay can make a good living for their families. That's our ultimate goal. Number two, I would like to have someone make a motion, as I'm not able to make motions today, in having Pebble Ridge survey the 6 acres out there at Donnie Wilson Park that we were talking about putting the soccer field on. We need to have that surveyed and have the corner stakes put down so that we can go in there and start clearing that property off.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sanders, and couldn't keep up which one of y'all was second. Second by Commissioner Lockley.
Discussion a little bit on that.
Okay.
Now is that basketball court gonna be on that field, or they didn't add that?
We don't really know until we get the 6 acres cleared and see. We'll have to come back at another time and have somebody help design exactly how we would do the soccer field and the basketball field, whether the basketball field would be over in the existing complex or if it will be
Yeah, that's what I'm
in
trying to.
addition to the soccer field. I don't know until.
That's what I'm trying to find out, is that big enough for both of them? We don't know.
I don't know until we get to the design phase, but, we got the grant, a $50,000 grant from, the state this year, FERDAP, to start moving on this project.
So it's gonna be crossed.
No, it'll be, at the last baseball field out there, going down Powell Rivers Road, like you're going towards the roundabout on Highway 98, just as you pass the last basketball field, there's 6 acres there on the same side as the baseball field.
okay.
If there's been a lot of suggestion about putting this soccer field across the street on some additional county property. If you do, then all these kids have to cross that road to get to the
That's
restrooms.
dangerous.
And if you put it across the street, then you gotta build new restrooms and new facilities, and we already have those out there. So really what we're doing is expanding upon the park we have now, and these kids won't have to cross that road. And I think it's advantageous for us to do it that way.
Exactly.
It's also why we're wanting to use that 6 acres to do this is to give some relief to the neighbors that were always wanting a vegetative buffer. Now they'll have a lot of vegetative buffer between them and their house. They're still not satisfied. The neighbors I'm referring to are still not satisfied. But we can only do what we can do, and to move that across the street and make those young kids cross the street to get to a restroom, I just see it's not advantageous for the community and it's not advantageous for the children. So I'd like to just give them the vegetative buffer and move it away from their house as best we can. And they'll have 300 or 400 yards there of pine trees and vegetative buffer between there and the resident, and trying to work. Some of the soccer people are not happy about that. They want it where they want it, right in front of these people's houses. These people have concerns, so I'm trying to do the best I can under the circumstances to provide relief and get the kids a soccer field, but also provide some relief to the neighbors. And I think that's the best way that we could proceed, and I do appreciate y'all making a motion on that issue. Any other discussion?
Yeah, how much, how much land out there besides that 6 acres? Is that what left or
That's what we have
left?
adjoining the current complex. There's other county lands out there, but you'd have to, like you said, go across the street and then build new restroom facilities, and it would just, the cost would go up astronomically. And I think doing it the way we're doing it, then it adjoins the current complex, which has a concession stand, it has restrooms, and it has all these facilities already located there. So economically, I think it's the best way we can go. Having said that, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask something? I forgot to ask while we were talking about the supervisor's budget. Where are we gonna get this money out of? Contingency?
It will come out of the supervisor's budget, current year budget.
It's gonna come out of the supervisor's budget?
Basically, what she's just getting is an allotment earlier than she would normally get it. She's getting a third of an allotment that she wouldn't usually get till.
She's just borrowing on next month.
She's just borrowing on next
Yeah,
month.
and we're hoping that by the time we get down to the middle of the budget, it all washes that, that things that should have been paid towards the end
Okay,
of the
she,
budget year.
basically, she's just borrowing on her budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where she was stating is the bill she's paying now won't have to be paid later. So she's thinking that the supervisor's budget will still be adequate for the current budget year. That remains to be seen, but we'll deal with that, cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Mine too, but, well,
There's nothing we can do about it though.
all she was asking for was payroll. People have to be paid, so
Yeah.
we'll just have to deal with the situation.
Yeah, we got to deal with it. I mean, like I said this morning, I don't know what it takes to run a constitution officer department. I'm a commissioner, but I do know it's our job to make sure the people get paid.
We go over.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Any other commissioner comments? Any other commissioner comments?
No, I just wanna say, it's been nice serving with you, Commissioner Jones. I hope you, get your feet wet and getting your feet wet.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
look forward to 4 years with you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. How was your first day?
Good, it's all good.
I usually don't keep you after lunch, Commissioner, but it's one of those days.
I'm just worried about supper right now, but it's all good.
I too would like to welcome you to the board and look forward to working with you on behalf of the people of the county and doing their business and looking after the people as best we can with the current resources that we have and the ability to do that.
Me too.
Thank you.
Without any further comments, meeting is adjourned.
We're gonna do your-
Y'all made me miss